When Jen was born, the very first thing Mike said was, "Oh, what a pity, she looks like Cindy. Poor kid." It's hard to believe those were the words for his newly born child. Mike must have been, from the very start, only interested in the money. Just like it was someone else's problem, he would tell me struggling with childcare, babies are tough, while he just watched, drinking. Since then, up until today, Mike has shown absolutely no interest in childcare. A deadbeat who doesn't even do childcare should just get a divorce and pay a settlement of $50,000. Mike is laughing uproariously with Erica. I was trembling with a rage I had never felt before. What does he think children are? I will never hand Jen over to such a man. He can just keep turning away from reality, running to the easier path, and being spoiled. The world won't bend to your whims. Sorry to burst your bubble, but you're going straight to hell, not heaven. My name is Cindy. I'm a 43-year-old housewife. I live with my husband and our daughter, who was born 2 years ago. I met my husband, Mike, at a friend's wedding reception 3 years ago. I work as a novelist, albeit modestly. Because of my job, I lead a somewhat secluded life, which makes me shy around new people, so I felt quite out of place at the lively atmosphere of the after-party, different from the formal reception. As I was heading towards the exit, thinking of sneaking out, "Oh? Are you leaving?" That's what Mike, who would later become my husband, said when he approached me. My first impression of him was surprisingly that of a sincere person. It turns out, Mike too couldn't fit into the after-party vibe and was feeling bored. That connection led us to keep in touch, and before we knew it, we started dating. Being with him, I realized Mike was a bit naive, or rather, detached from worldly ways. One day, Mike said, "My parents are telling me it's about time I became independent. It's understandable, I guess, since I lived abroad. I'm still not used to life here, so it's scary." Mike was younger than me, but at 35, he was already a grown man. Living abroad is no excuse for being spoiled. However, Mike's naivety and pure aura were enough to stir my maternal instincts. Before I knew it, I had invited Mike to my house, and we started living together. My house is built as a duplex, with the first floor as my workspace and the second as our living space. It was around the time Mike had comfortably settled into my home. "My dad said he'd give us $5,000 if we had a kid. So, Cindy, let's get married." He proposed with the casualness of suggesting a trip. With almost no experience in love, I wondered if this was how things were supposed to be and accepted his proposal. Eventually, I got pregnant. Being pregnant at 40 meant I had to be extra careful. Just as a long-running series of mine came to an end, I decided to take a break from work for our child. 2 years have passed since our daughter Jen was born. Jen is starting to hit her terrible twos, crying and saying no to everything. I saw it as part of her growth and did everything I could to keep her happy and soothe her moods. "Cindy. Jen's being loud, and I can't sleep. Make her quiet, will you?" Mike said that, appearing in the living room. It was just after 8 p.m. Mike had been out drinking till morning at a company party the night before and went straight to work from there. He said he was just too tired. "I'm sorry. I think it'll calm down soon." Though I wanted to blame Mike for not coming home and just going out to drink, making Jen happy was my top priority. If Jen calmed down, then Mike would be satisfied. "It must be nice for you, Cindy, not having to work and just staying at home all day. Just doing housework and childcare, while I'm slaving away every day." With that, Mike went back to the bedroom. I don't know where he picked it up, but this line has become Mike's recent catchphrase. I was utterly fed up with hearing what sounded like a scripted excuse from a father who doesn't participate in childcare. When it was clear I was pregnant, Mike was overjoyed. "Yes. You did it, Cindy. We're getting $5,000. Though I wished I hadn't heard it, Mike promptly informed his parents about the pregnancy and seemed to have received the $5,000. Mike was as happy as if he had received a bonus, but logically, this was a celebration gift from his parents. Normally, this money would be spent on things for the child, like clothes or milk, but Mike unhesitatingly pocketed it for himself. Still, I prepared a thank you gift for my in-laws with my own money. Mike, for better or worse, was naive and lacked common sense. Moreover, it seemed he greatly lacked the skill to consider others' feelings. The first thing he said when Jen was born was, "Oh, what a pity. She looks like Cindy. Poor kid." It's unimaginable these were words for his just-born child. Mike really must have been focused on the $5,000 from the start. Just like it was someone else's problem, he remarked to me struggling with childcare, "Babies are tough, huh," while he just watched, drinking. Since then, up until today, Mike has shown absolutely no interest in childcare. One day, I had to meet someone for work. Though I was on a break, the publisher wanted to discuss plans for when I resumed work. I called my parents to ask if they could look after Jen. Hearing this, Mike said, "Huh? Who's the housewife supposed to meet? Don't you think it's cruel to leave your child and go somewhere? What a terrible mother, the worst. This is what they call a failure as a mother." That was harsh. Even I couldn't help but retort to Mike's words. "Then, why don't you watch Jen? She'd surely prefer to stay with Daddy than go to her grandparents." Mike grimaced visibly at that. "Don't be ridiculous. Why should I have to spend time with the kid? I'm busy, I don't have time to entertain a child." Busy, he says, but he's probably just going to gamble. Dismayed by Mike's words, I decided to leave Jen at my parents' as originally planned. My parents live a bit far away, so my dad came by car to pick her up. However, since my dad always ends up drinking in the afternoon, I have to go pick her up myself. In the evening, after finishing the meeting, I hurriedly prepared to go pick up Jen. Then, surprisingly, Mike showed up in the living room. Probably, he lost its bling and ran out of money early. I said, "Good timing, I was just about to go pick up Jen. Could you drive me there?" After all, he is her father, I hoped he'd at least do that much. But, as expected, Mike's response was, "No, that's a hassle." Since I anticipated this, I wasn't disheartened and was about to leave the house. Then, unexpectedly, Mike said, "Fine, I'll drive." For a moment, I doubted my ears, but seeing Mike holding the car keys and heading to the parking lot, I felt, for the first time, that he might have some awareness as a father. I was filled with a small joy, but it shattered the moment I got into the car and closed the door. "Since I'm driving, give me $300. Mike said, holding out his hand. So, this was his intention. I sighed, resigned. Once I was in the car, I couldn't refuse. Jen was waiting at my parents' house. With no choice, I handed over the $300. "Thanks, just a bit more persistence and this slot machine will definitely pay out. I'm sure to win, so leave it to me." Mike, as if he might start humming a tune at any moment, started the car. Looking back, deciding to ask Mike for a ride might have been a mistake. We didn't really have anything to talk about and spent the journey in silence. Then, just a few miles from my childhood home, Mike's smartphone rang. What does he do but pick up the phone to check the message that had just come in? "Hey Mike, that's dangerous. You should stop the car before checking that." Even though I said that, Mike continued to drive while looking at his phone screen. "It's nothing, I'm used to it and it's totally fine." Mike said that, even replying to the message. At that moment, I felt the car subtly drift to the right. "Watch out!" The moment I thought that, I saw a concrete median barrier looming in front of us. Mike hurriedly turned the steering wheel. With a loud crash, the car stopped. I remember the airbag deploying and feeling a sense of pressure. As I heard sirens in the distance, I lost consciousness. When I came to, I was lying in a hospital bed. I tried moving a little. Ouch! A pain ran through my body as if it was tingling all over. To be honest, when the car crashed, I thought it was the end. The moment we collided with the median barrier, my thoughts turned to Jen. Speaking of which, I wonder how Jen is doing. Hopefully, she's safe at home. I just hope Mike didn't do anything strange. Right, what happened to Mike? As I looked around with just my eyes, a woman asked, "Are you looking for your husband?" When I turned toward the voice, there was a woman in the hospital room. "Are you here for today's meeting?" "Right, this woman is the new editor from the publishing house we met with today." Her name was Kate, if I remember correctly. "Ma'am, your husband had only minor injuries, so he was treated and discharged." "It's terrible. To think he would leave without even showing his face in your room while you're in this condition." Kate seemed even more upset than I was. Apparently, she wanted to thank me for today's meeting and had called me, but it was after the accident had happened. Instead, someone from the hospital answered and explained the situation to her. The hospital staff asked if it was okay to tell me about the situation. "Even though you were almost unconscious, you seemed to nod in agreement. You're too dedicated to your work," Kate said, laughing. "Your child is safely being looked after at your parents' house, so please rest assured. And, if you don't mind, may I help you while you're hospitalized?" I knew Mike was unreliable, so Kate's offer was very welcome. But I felt conflicted about being taken care of by someone else. "Kate, please, I really want to help. After all, I am your editor." Encouraged by Kate's supportive words, I decided to accept her help. Thanks to Kate's devoted assistance, I was able to be discharged from the hospital. However, because I had severely injured my back, I couldn't walk due to the pain and had to rely on a wheelchair for some time. In the end, Mike never visited the hospital during my stay, only occasionally sending emails asking for money, like send $300. When it was time to leave the hospital, it was my father who took me home. I was also able to take Jen back with me. Given the circumstances, my parents said they were willing to keep Jen for a while longer, but that wasn't really an option. I wanted to spend time with Jen too. Even though I reassured him with, "It's okay because Mike is here too," my father seemed uneasy, as if sensing something, and wore a troubled expression. But without prying further, he simply said, "If anything happens, make sure you tell me," and left. Fortunately, our house was designed with aging parents in mind, making the first floor wheelchair accessible. Though it was currently used as my workspace, since getting married and taking a break, I spent most of my time on the second floor. There were times I used to work overnight on the first floor, so bedding and such were always on hand. Compared to the second floor, it was less cluttered, spacious, and the accessibility made it safer to let Jen play around to some extent. I shifted out of my wheelchair and managed to sit on the sofa. This was possible thanks to Kate's enthusiastic support during my rehabilitation. Jen noticed me sitting on the sofa and hurried over with a pitter-patter. "Mom, does your leg hurt? I will rub it for you." Saying this, Jen began caressing my leg. I couldn't help but embrace Jen, feeling an overwhelming affection. How could Mike not see how precious and loving our child is? Deep down, I'm relieved that Jen wasn't in Mike's car this time. It's a blessing that only I was seriously injured. I felt a dark emotion towards Mike rising within me. For my sake, and more importantly for Jen's, I started to contemplate our future life without Mike. The day after I was discharged, Mike showed up in the first floor room. A band-aid was stuck to his forehead, perhaps a wound from the accident. "Huh, this place is mine too, huh? I totally thought it was a two-story apartment." It's understandable to think that since the entrances for the first and second floors are separate. I had informed him via email about my discharge the day before, but I wonder if he found it strange that I didn't return to the second floor. Probably not. He's always been indifferent to others. When I glanced at Mike with a bit of disdain, I noticed an unfamiliar woman behind him. Strikingly young. She seemed to be in her early 20s. Ah, this is Erica. Young and cute, right? A whole different world from you. Sorry to spring this on you, but I want you to leave this house. I'm going to marry her. His sudden demand left me speechless. However, the moment I saw this young woman, I had imagined such a possibility. Then Mike began to say something even more outrageous. "You know, when I think about it, the accident happened while I was driving for your errand, right? So, I'm the victim who got dragged into this. You are the perpetrator. Your injury might be your own fault, but mine is totally undeserved. So, I'm going to sue you for damages." I was dumbfounded. I wished I could peek into Mike's mind to understand how he could come up with such reasoning. Besides, Erica is a nurse. A real difference from the housewife, huh? She actually works, so she won't be stingy about money like you. She's the best woman," Mike said, pulling Erica close. Even seeing this, I felt no jealousy, only disgust. And then, Mike dropped an unbelievable bombshell. "Also, I'll be taking Jen. There's some kind of child support money, right?" "Cindy, you're sneaky. Keeping such a sweet deal to yourself. Turns out, kids can be quite useful. You always left Jen at your parents', right? Truly a terrible mother. Since you're in a wheelchair now, I'll definitely get custody. If I weren't in a wheelchair, I might have hit Mike." That's how absurd his statements were. My fists trembled with rage on my lap. Sensing something, Jen clung to me the whole time. A useless parent who doesn't even take care of their child deserves a divorce. And pay me $50,000 in damages. Mike and Erica laughed uproariously together. I trembled with a rage I had never felt before. What does he think children are? I'll never hand Jen over to such a man. Keep running from reality, seeking the easy way out, and being spoiled. The world won't bend to your will. I know you might feel like you're in heaven right now, but I'm going to have to bring you crashing down to hell. I will never forgive you." While ignoring two fools laughing loudly together, I took a piece of paper from the desk's chest. And then, I handed it over to Mike. "Here you go. A divorce paper." Mike looked surprised for a moment, but then laughed again. "Wow, that was quick, classic Cindy. I'll be counting on that $50,000. This man always brings up money as his second sentence." In my heart, I sighed the deepest sigh of my life. Got it. $50,000, right? Just to clarify for the paperwork, this is compensation for the accident that was my fault, correct? Mike, happy about getting money, nodded vigorously. Exactly. It was your fault I got into that accident. Despite my astonishment, I kept the conversation cool. All right, I'll send the official documents later. Make sure to sign them along with the divorce paper. And Jen will be raised by me. You will not have custody. That's non-negotiable. I said this, looking straight into Mike's eyes with all seriousness. Overwhelmed by my determination, Mike conceded, okay, I give up on Jen. Upon reflection, she doesn't even like me much, nor is she cute. I didn't mention it, but Erica is pregnant. So, I don't need Jen. Plus, I'll be getting $5,000 from my dad again. I wonder if he ever considers how Jen feels, being called unlovable by her own father. Not wanting Jen to hear any more of Mike's harsh words, I asked her to go to the back room. Mike, are you really okay with this? I asked Mike for final confirmation. Huh? Of course I am. Cindy, you better leave this house soon too. And make sure the transfer of $50,000 is as quick as possible. Mike and Erica said this and went back upstairs. I called for Jen. Jen ran to me immediately and hugged me tightly. Mom, will we always be together? Jen looked up at me with anxious eyes. I hugged her tightly, reassuring her. It's okay. We'll always be together. I decided to stay with my parents for a while, along with Jen. I moved the desk from the first floor and all other furniture to another place. After some time, I received the signed divorce papers and the compensation agreement from Mike at my parents' house. Truly a naive and honest man. His straightforwardness was part of the charm that attracted me to him, but now, there's not a speck of love left. I can drop him into hell without mercy. It was about a month after I left the house. I noticed the vibration of my smartphone while I was taking a break from starting a new manuscript. I hadn't noticed because I was engrossed in my manuscript, but there were dozens of missed calls, all from Mike. I had been expecting his call around this time. I didn't want to talk to him, but I answered the phone out of necessity. Hello? What's the matter? On the other end, I could hear Mike's voice, unusually frantic. Hey! Cindy! What's going on? Some guys are here trying to take all the furniture away. They're even saying they're going to demolish this house. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Mike's panicked voice was just too funny. Hey! Cindy! Don't laugh, get over here now. I won't let this go easily. Mike hung up the phone forcefully. He hangs up even though there's no guarantee I'll answer again, nor have I promised to come over. Truly, a foolish man who thinks not of the future. However, I must show Mike the hell he deserves, so I decided to go to him. Jen is now attending daycare. Just as I was wondering how to get going, the doorbell rang. The visitor was Kate. Are you going somewhere? She asked. I explained the situation and told her I was going to see Mike. Then Kate said, in that case, I'll come with you. I'm sure I can be of help. And with that, she drove me to Mike's place. On the way, Kate shared some astonishing truths with me, making me, in a way, eager to meet Mike sooner. Upon arrival, movers were busy taking out furniture. Seeing me, Mike rushed over in a panic. Hey! What's going on here? Is this your doing? Fix this. Although Mike was full of vigor, his face turned pale upon seeing Kate step out of the car. It's been a while, Mike. Kate revealed she was Mike's real sister, which surprised me when I heard it in the car, especially since they were practically estranged. Let's not talk here in the doorway, let's go inside, she suggested, and we moved to a room on the first floor. Mike, now pale, said nothing, and Erica looked puzzled. In the empty room, I broke the silence. This house is going to be demolished. I no longer need it. The furniture is being moved to my new home, where I'll live with Jen and my parents. At this, Mike exploded. Why? Erica and I live here now. You can't just tear it down. Erica nodded in agreement. This house is mine. It was built with my money. Mike seemed unconvinced by my words. How could a perpetual housewife like you afford to build a house? Stop lying. Kate countered Mike's words. Mike, you really know nothing. Cindy is being modest, but she's a best-selling author who has published numerous books, some of which have been adapted into dramas and movies. Honestly, a man like you shouldn't have been able to marry someone like her. Though best-selling might be an overstatement, it's true that several of my works have been adapted. But you didn't write while we were married, right? So you're still a housewife. Mike was missing the point as usual. Kate continued, exasperated. Didn't you listen? Cindy has written several works in the past. The more they sell, the more money she makes. That's how royalties work. Mike didn't seem to grasp the concept. Mike, income isn't just about salaries. I may not get a salary, but I earn about $300,000 a year in royalties. Mike's eyes widened. He had found a younger and prettier nurse, thinking he no longer needed me, a housewife in a wheelchair. The sound of a $300,000 annual income had a big impact on him. Then, I'm entitled to half of that in the divorce settlement, right? Yes. That's $150,000 a year for me. His simplicity left me speechless. Truly, his mind must be a garden of blooming flowers. Mike. The royalties from Cindy's books, published before your marriage, won't be divided with you, Kate said. Mike froze, his face a picture of confusion. He should be thankful even to have fantasized about having $150,000 for a moment. I added, the same goes for this house. It was built before we married, so it's not part of the divorce settlement. The furniture too. You moved into my house. You'll only keep what you bought. We're divorced, and I won't let strangers live in my house, so please move out soon. Mike looked even more dissatisfied. He demanded, with great intensity, then where are we supposed to live? I have no idea. With $50,000, you can easily find a place to live, right? As I said this, Mike's face turned visibly darker. I don't have the $50,000 anymore. After that, I went on a trip abroad and played around in casinos, and it just vanished. Losing a fortune gambling was so typical of Mike. But I had not a shred of sympathy for him. However, your current wife is a nurse, isn't she? Lucky for you to have a wife with a steady income, I said, with a bright smile on my face. Then, Mike managed a slight smile and said, "Yeah, that's right. It's been a big help that Erica is working as a nurse. I quit my job, after all. Erica has been on paid leave this past month, right?" It was Erica who frowned at these words. That girl isn't a nurse or anything. The one who said this was Kate. Mike told me he got married again, so at my father's request, I looked into her. Erica, you're unbelievable. Does Mike know everything? Erica shook her head slightly. Erica? You were a nurse, right? You said you were making $4,000 a month. Not true. Mike, naive and ignorant of the ways of the world, seemed to have been deceived by this Erica. I felt a bit sorry for him, but this was a classic case of reaping what you sow. It seems she did aspire to be a nurse, but during her training, she lost her temper with a patient, raised her hand, and caused an injury. The patient's family, out of kindness, decided not to press charges and settled, but you ran away without paying any settlement money, didn't you? That's the lowest of the low. Erica glared fiercely at Kate. And on top of that, I heard you've been running up a tab at a host club lately? Your debt's in the triple digits. And you're planning to run away from that too, aren't you? Hearing this drained the color from Mike's face. Host club? Debt. Erica, you're out of money. You borrowed money from loan sharks recently, saying you just happened to be short on cash. I became a guarantor because I thought you were a nurse. Erica defiantly replied, "What about it? You were the one who first acted like you had money. If I knew you were broke, I wouldn't have married you." It was a mudslinging match between the two. They were screaming at each other. Sorry to interrupt your argument. I threw cold water on the quarreling couple. Since there seems to have been infidelity during the marriage, I'll be asking both of you for compensation. Thank you very much. My words brought their bickering to an abrupt halt. By the way, please return the $50,000 I paid. The police confirmed through dashcam footage that it was Mike's fault in the accident. I paid you because you said it was my fault, but since it wasn't, I'd like it back. Mike's face twisted more and more. An adult man, on the verge of tears. By the way, don't even think about running away. I, of course, plan to pursue you relentlessly. Kate has already informed the patient's family, the host club, and the loan sharks about your whereabouts. Everyone was relieved to find you, which is great for them. Not great at all, according to Mike's face. And then, Erica finally burst into tears. Eventually, as all their belongings were moved out, only Erica's crying echoed in the house. This is his 7th marriage, you know. Kate muttered as she checked the manuscript. I nearly dropped my teacup in shock. Every time he got someone pregnant, my father gave out $5,000 as a congratulatory gift, but in reality, it was more like an apology to the woman. Mike misunderstood it as getting $5,000 whenever he had a child. How could anyone make such a misunderstanding, I thought, dejected. Kate had written off such an irresponsible Mike and had disowned him. Sending Mike abroad was my father's idea. He was under surveillance there and didn't cause any trouble, but to think he met you upon returning to Japan, what a shock. The unbelievable tale was that Mike had managed to father 6 children, leaving his family to clean up after each divorce. But with Erica, their patience had finally run out. To begin with, Erica wasn't even pregnant. It was a lie just to get the $5,000. The fact that she had posted about her overseas trips on social media, showing her drinking, smoking, and even bungee jumping, was just appalling. Actually, my father, my husband, and I are all big fans of you. So when we heard Mike got married, we were genuinely happy, and at the same time, very worried. I'm sorry I didn't come forward as his sister right away when you were involved in an accident because of him. I didn't want to be disliked. I wanted to serve you wholeheartedly, hoping that being with you would make Mike straighten out. But in the end, I caused trouble. I'm truly sorry. I hugged Kate with all my might. Mike had such a wonderful family. I hoped he would realize their value soon. Mommy, you're so good at walking. After a long period of rehabilitation, I had finally managed to walk slowly on my own feet. Even now, Kate is still my editor and helps me with my daily tasks. Mike is currently working hard to pay off debts under his father's supervision, alongside Erica. I now live with my parents and Jen in a new duplex, writing novels. Mommy, you're amazing, you're great. I love you so much. Jen kisses me on the cheek. I hug Jen with all my might. I have a job I love and my dear Jen. This is my heaven. I am so happy now that I think I shouldn't wish for anything more.